What's going on, guys? So I just got back from watching Dune. It's the remake of the early 1980s film, and it was directed by Denis Villeneuve. And it's got a great ensemble cast. Timothée Chalamet, Zendaya, Jason Momoa, Stellan Skarsgård, Josh Brolin, and the list goes on and on. It basically revolves around the far future. This family gets thrust into this war over this desert planet. I was a little late to this game. I've seen the original 1980s around, but I've not actually seen it, so I'm kind of ignorant to it. And I've never really read the books. And I know the books, those came out like 1965. The new Dune is actually a part of a 2-film series. So they're actually planning on continuing it with like one more. And I gotta say, it wasn't bad. It wasn't really for me. But let's start off with the positives for Dune. Like I said, it had a really strong cast. Jason Momoa, it had Stellan Skarsgård, which I've seen him in the MCU before, and he's pretty good. It also had Bautista, Josh Brolin, you name it. It was an awesome cast. It was a great cast. I liked the way the movie looked. It had somewhat of a Mad Maxian look to it, because there was a bunch of desert scenes in this. This whole movie, like maybe 80% of it is in a desert. But there is a lot that goes on, because this movie is really long. And the way Denis Villeneuve directs this, I've heard of this guy. And he is really respected. I think this is actually the only one of his that I've seen. And I know he did like several others, including Blade Runner 2049, I believe. He did a really good job in this. I think he's one of those well-respected directors in Hollywood. Kind of like Steven Spielberg, George Lucas. And the way this movie was shot, it was really good. Like the cinematography, the shot by shot, and the action sequences, when there was action sequences in there. It was done really well. And it was one of those movies that was kind of poetic. And now forgive me for, not really saying this correctly, but it's one of those movies that is actually, like, it's drawn out, but for the sake of the story. That's another thing. The story, it was good. Now again, I'm kind of late to the game. I've never read the books. I've never watched the early 1980s film that was, I believe, directed by David Lynch. I've never really watched that one. And I've never really looked at the books. But from what I heard of this actually stayed true to the books. Again, I wouldn't know. I never really read the books. I gotta say, the story was pretty good. I'm always a stickler for a good story. Now, for a movie like this, I don't really usually go for it because it's one of those drama type. It was more story-based than anything else. Maybe character-driven as well, but it was more story-driven, in my opinion, which is a good thing. But I'll get into the reasons later why I kind of see this as just a one-hit wonder for me. But yeah, it was a stellar cast. The movie looked really good. It was really beautifully shot. The shot by shots, the coloring and the lighting and everything, it was really good. It made you feel like you were actually a part of what this movie was telling and what the characters was going through. Going into this, I wasn't really expecting much, because I've heard a lot of what this guy, the director, has done. He doesn't really do movies like Michael Bay type action, or, he mostly does story-based movies. And, I respect that. I really do. I'm just one of those guys that likes crazy action, and that's not what this movie was. But again, the story was good. It really did get me hooked. It really did make me feel for these characters and for everything that was going on. Like, each of the characters had its own merits and had its own destiny and reasoning as to why they were doing what they were doing. And I gotta say, the villains in this was spot on. Stellan Skarsgård, notably him. He's really good in this. And Bautista, he plays another one that's a really true good villain. And I'm always a stickler for a good villain, and these guys really got to me. Especially Stellan Skarsgård. Now, I'm not really sure what these guys were. I don't even think they were human. Like, their characterizations, their characters, I don't even think they were human. But I couldn't really tell. Again, I'm ignorant to the party. I never read the books. I know I'm repeating myself, but I never read the books. I never looked at the original. Maybe I should, but yeah, moving on. The lead actor, Timothée Chalamet. The name sounds familiar, but I don't really think I've seen him in much. But he was really good in this. He was really good in this film. He played a really good lead character. And for what his character had went through, he played like sort of like this profiteer sort of guy. He's one of those that you kind of root for. He really made me care for everything that he was doing, and for like much of the other characters, like Jason Momoa, he's a badass about everything he plays in ever since he did Aquaman. I've never really seen that guy in anything else, well, other than Bullet to the Head. And then like whenever Aquaman came out, I think that's when he really sort of took off. I'm not really sure about what the other stuff that this guy did, other than those 2 movies I just mentioned and this one, but I think he's a really good actor. Dave Bautista, as I've mentioned him before, and all their others. Zendaya is in it. She's not in it too much. She plays Spider-Man's love interest in the new ones. She played a pretty good part whenever she was in this. And as far as the negatives goes, again, this isn't one of those movies that I usually go for, and I understand the direction and everything that it was trying to say, but it's one of those that is really long and really drawn out for my taste. It's just not something that I would watch again. Sure, like if they come out with a sequel, I'll watch that and give that a benefit of the doubt and do that review and put it on this channel. But it's just not one of those that I write home about. Because it's just not one of those that's just not in my range. Not in my range of genre of movies that I'll usually go for. It's more science fiction. It's more dramatic, story-driven, and somewhat character-driven, which I appreciate. But it's just not one of those that I just have too much love for. It's not for me. It's not in my range. It's not in my vocabulary of movies that I usually watch. But again, I do enjoy the story. I did enjoy the characters. And I did enjoy the look of this. It's just the tone and pacing. This movie's long. It's not like 3 hours long, but like close. It's like 2.5 hours. But again, I understand what the filmmakers is going for. They're going off material of a book, off a book that I never read. Yes, my bad. If I had more subscribers on here and more haters, I would get cussed at. But it is what it is. It's just not my type of movie. And I'm not faulting the movie for that. It's just not something that I go for. The only reason why I went and seen this movie is because I just wanted to go to the movies. I wanted to have another theater experience after my car being in the shop for a whole freaking week. You can't blame me. But again, it's a good movie. If you're a fan of the books, I'm sure you'll like it. Again, I'm not sure how different it is from the 1980s version, but I'm hearing a lot of people saying that it is a little better than that film. But again, I wouldn't know. If you like Dune, then great. You'll have a good time. If you like the books, you might like the movie, from what I heard. But if you didn't, then that's your preference. As I said, movies is subjective. You can't please everybody. It is what it is. So Dune, have you seen it yet? What did you think of it? Did you like this adaptation? Did you like the 1980s version? Or did you think this movie came close to the books? Leave me your comment down below and give me your thoughts. Thank you so much, guys, for watching this video. As always, like, subscribe, comment, and share. And I will see you on the next one. Peace.